All right, now 3 o'clock. This just in. The Suns have fired head coach Frank Vogel after just one season. Phoenix won 49 games, but got swept in round one by the Timberwolves. Knicks topped the Pacers in game 2 last night to take a 2-0 series lead. Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle upset after the game with the officiating.
We deserve a fair shot. There's not a consistent balance, and that's disappointing.
Game 3 is coming up on Friday, 4 o'clock, ESPN. Pacers favored by 7.5. Doubleheader tonight with a pair of game 2s, both on ESPN at 4. Cavs at the Celtics. Boston favored by 13.5. At 6:30, Dallas at OKC. The Thunder, a 4.5-point favorite. Both OKC and Boston looking to go up 2-0 in their series. Bucks guard Patrick Beverley giving a 4-game suspension for throwing a basketball at a fan at the end of the game 6 in their series against the Pacers and inappropriate interaction with an ESPN reporter in the locker room.
The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
If they don't blow the whistle, he's going to give up a bucket in a 1-point game.
Precious Achiuwa will dribble it out. And the Knicks take a 2-0 lead, pulling out a 130-121 victory over the Indiana Pacers.
Hart comes up and shoves him in the back. It's all over Twitter right now.
I could take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA.
18 games is definitely a big ask. That's not easy.
They will let a media rumor drive his energy.
I get upset with people often.
The veteran right-hander, and he hits this one sharply fair into the left field corner. That's more like it. Come on down, Trevor Larnett. Here comes Max Kepler. They'll send Miranda. The relay, they'll just eat it. It's a bases clearing 3-run double from Manny Margot.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, coming up at 3:20, Ben Golliver of the Washington Post will join the show and talk some NBA basketball. And then at 4:20, head coach of the Portland Winterhawks, Mike Johnston, will join the show as they get ready to kick off the WHL Finals tomorrow. We also have a pair of tickets to give away for AEW Wrestling coming to Moda Center on May 16th. And we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns, who will be at Providence Park this weekend, taking on the Seattle Reign. So your chance to win is today, and all you have to do is listen to Dwight and I for that opportunity. We'll get to the news on Patrick Beverley here in just a moment. But, Godfather, I wanted your quick take on this tweet that came out from Jake Fisher, who's well connected to the Portland Trailblazers. He put out that with Mike Budenholzer a top candidate in Phoenix's search to replace Frank Vogel, one name I've heard would have particular support from Suns players, and that's Chauncey Billups. So once again, Chauncey Billups' name coming out in the news in a potential job opening. We got word yesterday from Chris Mannix that he would definitely be interested to continue working if the Blazers and he were to part ways. So what do you make of this report from Jake Fisher?
Well, first of all, what a country. A guy can get this job and lose and lose and lose for 3 years. Not his fault. I understand that. But boom. His name's popping up for coaching jobs, and he's under contract for another season. But I think people are fully confident he could get out of his deal if he wanted. I don't know if that's true or not. You know, they don't have to let him out of his deal. But theoretically, you wouldn't want to keep a guy around to coach your team who doesn't want to be here. It's interesting, and I look at the Feeney situation and say, well, you know, Budenholzer's name is surfacing, and I think a lot of players don't want to play for Budenholzer because he's a hard coach. He's tough. And then you hear Chauncey's name. It's like, hey, Chauncey, good guy, not particularly tough coach. He's got ties to some of their players. He's close to Durant, apparently, was actually a teammate when he played on FIBA team. So maybe that's real.
Is this being motivated by Chauncey's agent, or is this just a case of Jake Fisher getting a hold of a couple of his contacts down in Phoenix? Where do you think this is coming from?
Well, to come out this quick, I'm guessing that it's originating from the agent, Andy Miller, who is now working for Clutch Sports. and you could connect him. You could connect Chauncey's name to the Lakers job too, uh, particularly because of the Clutch Sports connection. So all of a sudden, Chauncey is apparently a guy. Maybe his name's being thrown around. I just don't know how much of this is real and how much of it is agent generated to try and, that's what you do. You get it. You get the word out and the buzz so that it seems like, wow, this guy is the next top candidate.
What do you think Andy Miller's advising Chauncey Billups to do? To stay on for one more year?
Well, another year of losing wouldn't really do him any good, I would say.
And then why doesn't he just walk away?
Well, that would take some negotiation because I'm sure that the Blazers at this point don't want to just let him go to become a head coach for another Western Conference rival.
But why would the Blazers pay him if Chauncey wanted to walk away now with 1 year left on his contract? A year in which the Blazers have already said they're going to bring him back, but he wants to walk away because he might be missing out on other opportunities with the Blazers going in a different direction. Why would they have to pay him or negotiate some type of settlement in that type of situation?
Well, they wouldn't have to. I mean, they could just let him go if they want. They wouldn't have to. But the problem would be, do they want to? Sometimes teams get their back up on this. It's like, wait a second, you work for us. We're not going to pay you to go out and find a job with another team and come back and beat us. That's not what we're interested in. When you signed up, we give you 5 years, 4 years guaranteed. We want that fourth year from you. Now, I think that's a bad way. I'm not endorsing those acts, Chad. I would say if the man wants out, he's taken enough losses here for your tank jobs. If he wants out and can get a better job, let him go.
No, what I'm asking is on the contract side. He's got a 4-year deal. The 5th year is a team option.
Mm-hmm.
So Chauncey's got 1 more year where he's under contract.
Right.
The Blazers can make the decision whenever they want on that 5th year option. If Chauncey went to the team and said, I would like to step away, why would you pay Chauncey to step away if he's choosing to walk away? Why would you pay him to do that?
Well, you're not paying him to step away. You're paying him to stay.
I know. I'm saying if Chauncey wanted to leave, if he and his agent decided, you know what, we want out now, you've already cut his staff, you guys are going in a different direction than what he wants to do, then they could just negotiate him walking away. But they wouldn't have to pay him any of that $2 million.
No. He'd be out of here. No.
Yeah, the Blazers wouldn't owe him anything.
You wouldn't owe him a dime.
If you fire him, though, then
you owe him money.
Yes.
No, you should. I would think. In fact, I thought a couple of the coaching moves were designed maybe to get him to quit.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now, if he's got a chance to take another job, sometimes teams get a little sensitive about that.
Yeah. So now I understand what's going on. The Blazers aren't going to fire him because they don't want to pay him to do nothing. And Chauncey doesn't want to walk away because he would be losing $2 million in the process.
Right. Now, if he had assurances, Phoenix is going to hire you if you can get out of that deal.
That's a different ballgame.
Whole different. Plus, it's different for the Blazers, too, because they're likely to get wind of that and say, okay, we want compensation from Phoenix. If we're going to let you go to that job, you got to trade us a player because we're trading you, our coach.
So this makes sense now. So Chauncey's not going to step away from the Trailblazers going into this 4th year of his 5-year contract unless he knows he's going to have a chance to land a job.
Right.
If the Sun said, hey, if you're willing to walk away, we'll hire you, then he would probably take that job.
And Chad, look, he's not making a ton of money. We know that. What, $2 million, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what he's making? Okay. If I were his agent, I would talk it over with Chauncey and say, Chauncey, you're just going to lose another 60 games next season, maybe 70 games. Who knows? Quit now. Quit now because you're in demand. You can at least interview with the Suns, maybe the Lakers, the Clutch Sports thing, maybe somewhere else. Who knows who else might get fired? But you're at least out there able to take a job. And the fact that you're free of that team means that your new team might not have to negotiate. Well, they wouldn't have to negotiate with your old team to get you.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So you walk away now before you have any assurances, and you're free to look around.
You're gambling your $2 million that you would have gotten paid this year to lose a whole bunch more games.
All right. The other news that came out today. Now, I thought that Commissioner Silver was being pretty soft in dealing with Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
I thought he would be suspended for Game 3 for throwing the heating wrap on the floor during live action of Game 2. after he couldn't get the towel to make it out there on the floor. He was ticked off with the officials because he was getting dominated by the Minnesota Timberwolves. But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, he really has no priors, so whatever. They fine him $100,000. I thought it was soft. I would have given him a game to send a message to players that you can't throw stuff on the floor at officials during live action. That's crazy. But then we got word today that Patrick Beverley, who threw a basketball not once but twice into the crowd at the end of Game 6 in their series with the Pacers, and then after the game refused to let a female reporter from ESPN have her microphone up so she could interview and do her job because she wasn't subscribed to his podcast, and he got a 4-game suspension. I thought for sure we were looking at maybe a month, 20 games, maybe half a season, because his act was so pathetic in the way he dealt with the reporter. And, of course, players launching basketballs at females in the stands is a very bad look for the league. That was surprising. Very soft move by Adam Silver once again.
Very, very soft. And I think the lowest suspension that I heard was some people saying it's got to be at least 10 games. He got 4 games. Either one of those acts, throwing a basketball at a fan twice or excluding a reporter because she isn't subscribed to your podcast, either one of those should have been 4 games. Either one of them. Just 4 games if he just did. But he did both. So, okay, at the very least, 8 games. This is getting to the point with the commissioner where I would assume the board of governors in the league would talk to him and say, look, it's going to be chaos in this league pretty soon if you don't start getting a little tougher on the players.
Yeah, now you set this precedent where Jamal Murray didn't get suspended. He got a $100,000 fine. What happens when somebody else lobs a heating wrap onto the floor? Or, in this case, with Patrick Beverley, 4 games for his act, which I thought was, pretty disrespectful. He gets 4 games for launching basketballs into the stands and denying access to a reporter after the game. 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost asking players to act out now because they know that the commissioner's not going to be tough on them. And then we see this inconsistency throughout the league now with discipline. We're going to do this at this point, and then we'll do this. I thought Beverley would get more because he's Patrick Beverley. He's not a significant player in the middle of a playoff series on the defending champs like Jamal Murray, right? And Beverley got just 4 games. Once again, a fail by the commissioner, who is spineless. He doesn't see sunlight very often. Very creepy looking. He is Skeletor.
Chad, another interesting thing. Michael Malone runs onto the court to confront an official nose to nose during a timeout. Game is going on. It's during a timeout. He gets nothing.
Nothing.
Not even a technical foul. The same official, Mark Davis, got charged after the game, or during the game, 33 seconds to go, by Rick Carlisle. 2 technicals, and he was booted out. So, somebody talked to Mark Davis and said, you can't allow those guys to do that to you anymore.
All right, Ben Golliver, Washington Post, up next on the Rip City Drive. All right, our next guest is one of our absolute favorites from the Washington Post. It is Ben Golliver, who's back on the show. What's up, Benny G?
How you guys doing? Live here in Minneapolis, getting ready for Game 3 of what feels like a sweep. Timberwolves Nuggets. How are you guys doing?
Oh, dude, we're just blown away. I watched that game too with my mouth agape, and I just couldn't get over the defensive performance by the Timberwolves. Are you surprised at the way they're dominating Denver?
I mean, it's been really, really, really impressive. You know, you go back like 10 years to when the Golden State Warriors kind of first started this pace era. It took so long for people to kind of adjust defensively to how you're going to deal with their shooting, how you deal with the ball movement, the pace, the off-ball movement. And it felt like to me this Minnesota Timberwolves team finally kind of came up with the blueprint for it, right? Like they've got the guards who can pressure the ball and make Jamal Murray look like a middle schooler, can't even bring the ball up the court, getting all these 24-second violations. They've got the bigs who kind of rotate on Joker and wear him down. And I think most importantly what they have, it really hasn't gotten enough credit, the defensive wing to cut off Joker's passing lane. So there's not any, backdoor cuts. There's not any lobs to Aaron Gordon. They've really just choked that off and made Denver's offense look totally different than it did in the first round against the Lakers or during the regular season. So the Nuggets have been a shell of themselves, and their title defense is on life support because of that.
Ben, I'm curious about this. This is a revolutionary defensive team, I think. It's a little different because they're big, they're aggressive, all of that. And I look over there on the bench. I never hear anybody get any credit, but I do notice on the bench, old quiet man, Elston Turner, sitting over there on the bench, who's had good defenses everywhere he's ever been an assistant coach. Is he their defensive guy, or is somebody else doing it? I never hear anything about that.
No, that's a great question. I think that all the credit really goes to Rudy Gobert. Typically, that's where everybody starts the conversation because he's won Defensive Player of the Year. He obviously won it again this year. But how impressive was it from a coaching standpoint, whether it's Chris Finch or the guy Mike Nori, who's filling in for him, or Elston Turner, who you mentioned? How impressive was it that they had such a great defensive performance without their defensive captain, right?
Yes.
And Rudy Gobert is trying to even fly to Denver because he just had his kid, and he's dealing with all these winds and, the crazy weather in Denver, so he couldn't even get there. And instead of saying, hey, let's just go home tied at 1-1, we got our job accomplished in Game 1, they actually played better defense in Game 2 without him, and they played in Game 1 with him. So that tells you that's a very, very well-coached team. There's no question. Chris Finch, I do know, was in the Coach of the Year conversation. I think he finished top 3, if I'm not mistaken. That was very well-deserved. And it's been very cool to see his team rally around him because, he had that big knee injury in the series in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
And I was in the tunnel as those guys are walking off the court. And to a man, every single one of those players, their face dropped, their face went white. They couldn't believe it when they were told by one of their executives, Dale Demps, that their coach had such a serious knee injury. And they actually brought the players in one by one to meet with Chris Finch to show support because they knew he was going to have this big surgery. So I'm telling you what, this Timberwolves team is playing championship defense, and they have championship chemistry too.
There's no question. We're talking with Ben Golliver, Washington Post. Hey, Ben, how cringeworthy was Jamal Murray's act in Game 2, and are you surprised he did not get suspended for Game 3?
Where did he go, Chad? I was waiting in the locker room to talk to him. I think there was 10 of us, 15 of us. Everybody wanted to know what happened. And he took off without talking to the media for the second time in 2 games. He's running from the smoke. I think that's what the kids call it. It was a really sad effort. And that was after, of course, he threw the towel and then the hot pack onto the court. He made the little money finger gestures towards the referees. I'm telling you what, it's not the refs, Jamal Murray. It's the fact that you can't turn the corner and you can't get a jump shot off against Minnesota's defense. Now, I think he's frustrated. I think they're feeling a little bit humbled, a little bit humiliated by how this – it's a very proud championship team, but you got to handle adversity better than that. And I was very disappointed in the entire night. He should have been suspended. It sets a very dangerous precedent if you can start throwing stuff on, from the bench onto the court during live game action. I know Dwight remembers Bobby Knight threw a chair all the way across the court not that long ago. Yeah. We don't want to go from heating pack to chair because you don't punish the guy. Another example of the NBA, I think, doing what was best for TV ratings as opposed to doing what was right for the sport.
Yeah, I get that, Ben, and I understand that. But the league is getting so soft on players. I mean, Pat Beverly, we've been talking about that one. I either one of the things he did, whether it was throw a ball twice at fans or, spurn a reporter because she doesn't subscribe to his podcast, either one of those is a 4-game suspension in my mind. He gets 4 for doing both of them. I don't understand where this league is going anymore.
Well, let's see if he's back in the league too before we get too worked over that one. It's like this Jamal Murray one matters because they're about to play on Friday and he shouldn't be on the court. But I'm with you. It was just a bad scene all the way around. I don't understand why competitive players with plenty of opportunity to compose themselves, at the end of games or after games can't do a better job of keeping their emotions in check. Uncalled for all the way around, no question about it.
Hey, Ben, I wanted to ask you about Rick Carlisle's comments about small market teams needing a chance. Do you think it serves the NBA well to have major markets in the finals?
Well, I mean, David Stern's old joke was, his dream finals matchup was Lakers versus Lakers, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think when you say that kind of a comment sticks with you, but that's not really the story of this postseason. The story of this postseason is all these new markets getting a chance. Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Dallas hasn't been going deep all that often recently. Indiana, Cleveland, all in the second round of the playoffs. That's a sea change from all the California teams that we've seen dominating. A major change from, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. It's the first year those 3 guys haven't been in the second round since 2005. I mean, that's an eternity, right? So I think Carlisle is just kind of typically playing politics. He's trying to stand up for his guys, maybe hope to swing the series now that it's going back to Indiana. I think the real story of this playoffs is it's a whole new generation. You got a bunch of Generation Z stars. You got all the millennials exiting stage left. And, that's what everybody should be focusing on.
I like Rick Carlisle a lot, but he should be working on getting his team to play just a semblance of defense. They haven't played defense all year, and it upsets me. But anyway, go ahead.
Dwight, he should be working on his acting skills too. He gets up there on the podium, and I wouldn't say he's exactly a Pacino or De Niro. Like he goes through all of his complaints, and it's like, all right, Rick, we've done this a million times. We've seen it. You're a much better coach than you are an actor, and I'm with you. I mean, Indiana doesn't play any defense. I think it's a series, though, because OG Anunoby going out is a huge blow for the Knicks. That looked like a pretty serious injury. We'll see what comes of it. But I would be nervous if I was a Knicks fan because their roster is really threadbare right now.
Yeah, they're running out of players. Hey, I feel like I'm sitting on a big story developing here in Portland, and I don't know what you know about it, Ben, but all of a sudden people are mentioning Chauncey Billups for the Phoenix job, and there's some reason for doing that in terms of, he's got a friendship with Kevin Durant, who was once a teammate of his on a FIBA team. And it's just like maybe he'd be the answer for them. I don't know. It's hard to imagine a guy going from this job to that job, and he's under contract for next year. I've also heard people trying to link him to the Laker job. I don't. What do you think about a guy in his situation? They've already non-renewed his brother and his lead assistant coach. It's really a strange situation here.
Well, the strangest part was that apparently they want to bring him back as a lame duck, extension, right? So that rumors start to come up because the Blazers haven't wanted to commit to him longer term, and typically you don't have a coach going into the lame duck season. So I think that's kind of why it's popped up. I'll tell you this, he's not the answer for the Suns. There is no answer for the Suns. They boxed themselves into a corner with that Bradley Beal trade. There's no coming back from that. I can understand why a person like Chauncey would rather have a team that's a playoff team to coach and try to take them to the next level compared to this Blazers team, which is going nowhere. But buyer beware on that Suns job because it's not as good as it looks on paper at all, especially with an owner who's already fired 2 coaches in basically the last 12 months, right? So good luck with that scenario. The Lakers, I don't know so much about that one. I feel like they would probably go a different direction too. Feels like LeBron wants his podcast host to get a shot. We'll see if that happens.
Hey, Ben, one other question. What have you heard? I keep hearing now. I've heard that the TV deals might get announced. They'll be agreed upon by the end of the summer, and that shortly after that, the league wants to kind of open the process of expansion. I've also heard that they may ask as much as $7 billion with a B dollars as an expansion fee. Have you heard anything of that nature at all?
Well, the order of operations is right. They've always said we'll do the expansion talks after the TV deals are done. It feels like some of those deals are basically, handshake already in place. It feels like the ESPN one essentially is done. It sounds like Amazon's like working its way into the mix, and then it kind of boils down to, is it going to be Turner still, or is it going to be NBC? And exactly how do they carve that up? So it feels to me like we're getting close, because all this has been to be taken care of. Working it for a while. I think there's enough talent to kind of make it work out. The new salary cap system that has more, that's working. You don't see as many super teams, at least successful super teams, as many as you did 5 years ago. So I think the time is right. And the NBA is a hot property right now. I hadn't heard that number, $7 billion, but you've seen some other teams just be sold for more than $2 billion. And if you're trying to take a cut of everybody else's pie, right, which is what happens when there's expansion, you have to pay the premium price.
Yeah.
All right, you can check him out. Washington Post, Ben Golliver, who's in Minneapolis, getting ready for Game 3, Timberwolves and Nuggets tomorrow night. Hey, Ben, we appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the game. That's going to be a great scene tomorrow night.
Oh, I can't wait, man. It's going to be wild. And take care, guys.
There you go.
Thanks,
Ben Golliver, Washington Post here on the Rip City Drive. Well, I think he said it best. That Phoenix job, I think it's great for Chauncey based on what he's gone through here in Portland. But
sure,
in terms of being able to get over the hump with the roster constraints that they have, and they've already announced today they're going to bring back the core with their, quote, big three, and then try to fill up in the margins. And that's just not going to be enough to win a championship. But if you've had 3 years with his experience here in Portland with the losses and the injuries and the tanking, the opportunity to go and coach Kevin Durant and win 50 games, that probably is very appealing for a guy like Chauncey.
Yeah.
In fact, the tweet that came out from our guy Flex down in Phoenix, he said, the smoke about Chauncey Billups is very real. He's still under contract, but I'm told Portland is looking to potentially make a change, and there is mutual interest if he is let out or relieved of his duties in Portland, something to absolutely monitor in the coming days. So there you go. That's the latest from Phoenix. My guess would be, based on what I know about NBA players, if the owner, Ishbia, is going to lean on his players to make a decision, they would absolutely choose Chauncey Billups over Mike Budenholzer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It would be a vote against Budenholzer more than a vote for Chauncey. Not that they don't like Chauncey, but I'm saying, I given their choice, I'm not sure a lot of NBA players want to play for Bud.
Yes. So we'll monitor it because, like you said, if Phoenix wants to hire him, that's probably where the agent would say, hey, let's move forward. Let's get out of this.
Yeah.
Portland can move on. You can move on to a different spot that matches up with what you want to do. He wants to compete and have a chance to win, and Portland is not going to do that this year for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and we've said this before, Chad. When Chauncey took this job, it wasn't as a rebuilding team. He was looking at a veteran roster, looking to improve its playoff position.
Yeah, once Olshey was let go and Cronin took over, that changed the entire situation for Chauncey Billups. And that happens sometimes. You know, there's no guarantees. You take a job, it's one thing one day, and then things change. And for Chauncey Billups, probably frustrating to have to go through it. But like you said, he's handled it well, hasn't complained. He's been a very good soldier for the organization, and he worked well with the young players this year. So, you know, like I said, I like Chauncey Billups. I'm one of the few in town that do. I think Blazer fans would celebrate Chauncey Billups moving on to a different team.
A lot of them would.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the Blazers, in that situation, if that happened and Chauncey was let out of his contract to go coach somewhere else, do you think the Blazers would elevate somebody for the upcoming season, or would they hire someone right away? How do you think they would handle that?
Well, this is almost, believe it or not, kind of late to be hiring a head coach.
Yeah.
And I think they might just say, Jim Moran, come on down. You did a great job with our G League team. You've been around our organization. take the job. We'll give it to you on an interim basis, see how you do for a year, and go from there. It wouldn't surprise me. They'd probably give him a 2-year deal simply because it wouldn't be a lot of money compared to other NBA coaches.
Yeah.
His first job. So,
And my guess is Cronin probably has a short list, like any GM does, of guys he wants to hire as his next head coach, right? He's probably got an idea of who he's looking at right now.
yeah. Not necessarily guys, men or women.
Well, men or women. Whoever
That's
the
what I'm
coach may
saying.
be, he's got a
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, he probably does. And I is this when you go after your main guy, or is this when you do look for an interim because you're not sure where your future is going to be? You don't even know at this point what kind of team you're going to have based on who you draft in the next 2 drafts.
That's what I'm saying. It might be better to elevate a guy like Moran and just wait. Even if you know who you may want to hire, wait and see how things play out, and then who you have access to or where you're going to be selecting in next year's draft. If you get the number 1 pick in the draft for next year and you have a shot to land Cooper Flagg, that could change the appeal of the job in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, Chad. That's the let's be real here. The whole key to the future of this team is the draft next season, not the one coming up, the next one. Because they're going to tank next year. They're going to try and get that top pick. That'll be Cooper Flagg. You land him, all of a sudden, there's head coaches interested in your job that are probably not interested in it now.
I agree. All right, that's the latest there. Big thanks to Ben Golliver. I'm jealous. That atmosphere tomorrow night in Minnesota is going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And my guess would be Jamal Murray will probably get booed every single time he handles a basketball.
Boy, he would deserve it. Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's just amazing to watch Timberwolves defenders laughing as they're defending Jamal Murray. Like literally laughing because they know that they're toying with him.
Yeah.
It's amazing. How often do you see that? A guy get punked so bad that guys are laughing at him in the process of playing defense.
And look, Ben pointed this out. They went the last game without Rudy. And that just tells you how solid their defense is when you can go without your defensive player of the year and still play great defense. It just doesn't happen.
All right, Mike Johnston, head coach of the Winterhawks, is going to join us coming up at 4:20. When we come back, shenanigans in the city of Portland.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of different versions today. That story you were telling me is pretty crazy, too.
Yeah.
With the
But
school
your
board.
story's next. I can't wait.
Yeah. Sometimes you just lose no matter what you do in life, Godfather.
Oh, man. No way out.
All right. We'll keep things rolling. You can reach out, 503-248-0620. We have a pair of tickets for AEW Wrestling we'll give away at 4 o'clock. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns in Seattle. We'll give those away at 5. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. I mean, Godfather, we were just talking about this. I don't understand how anyone could look at Chauncey and the record that he's put up over the last 3 years here and really put those losses on him.
I agree.
In fact, I don't really know how you could evaluate Chauncey or any coach in that type of situation to know what type of coach he can be based on the injuries, the lack of talent, and the players he had access to. How could you? And you have an organization that was trying to make a push to improve draft position.
Yeah, I don't know either. I know other teams in the league could probably evaluate their preparation in terms of just the way they came out for a game, prepared or not, whether they threw some new wrinkles out once in a while. But even that is mediated by the fact that he had a constant changing cast of characters, G League up and down, two-way contracts, signing, borderline players from other teams after they've been let go. There was just so much change. I'm not sure you had the ability to do many different things. It was hard just to do your basic things.
Yeah, especially in the second half of the season. I forgot the number, some absurd number of different starting lineup combinations for the Trailblazers this year. They also were up there near the tops in games lost due to injury and games played by rookies. But my thought would be that if you have new guys, young guys, and different combination of guys or players that don't have a lot of experience, how many different things can you throw at them to be able to go out there on the floor and execute, right?
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah, and I would also say to all you Portland fans who keep calling him a garbage coach and sending us notes about us saying he coached a little bit, if he's being considered for other NBA jobs, those people know more about him as a coach than we do and you do. So relax a little bit on that because they kind of know what's up, and they're ignoring what he's had to be put up with in the last 3 years.
Well, I also believe that in basketball, the most important thing is being able to connect with your players, especially your star players, right?
Yeah.
That if you hire a good staff that can handle some of the detail part of the coaching game with your defense, your offense, or whatever, and then you've got Chauncey to be able to connect and relate to the stars, the guys that he needs to get on the same page and play hard for him, he might be very good at that. Some coaches are terrific in hiring the right guys, having the right support around them, and then being that CEO that can work with and communicate with the players.
Well, he's always seemingly gotten along with his players here. I'm sure we don't hear everything that goes on, but at least on the surface, it looks like his players like him.
All right, I want to throw this situation at you. These are the type of things that happen locally with government that drive me insane. So my good friend who works up in North Portland, right off of Interstate Avenue, had her license plates stolen from her car.
Oh, yeah.
So she had to pay to get those replaced. And what happened is someone, once again, tried, and she caught them in the act, to remove the license plates from her car. So to just end the nonsense, she decided to put the license plates in the front and the back where you could see them through the window. Well, she came out from work yesterday, and there was a citation on her car for $85 for not properly displaying the license plates on the front bumper and on the back bumper.
Wow.
And this is one of those classic situations where you don't have the support from the local government to protect your car. So you take measures into your own hands to put the license plates into your car so they don't get stolen again. You got to pay to replace them. I'm assuming they use those stolen plates to put on stolen vehicles, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what
you do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but then you get an $85 citation because they're not displayed properly. That's madness. You can't win.
I just, that kind of thing is mind-numbing, that. First of all, I'm surprised more people don't have their license plates stolen, and there ought to be a better way to affix those so people can't just walk up there and unscrew them and walk off with them, because it costs you money every time you have to replace them. It's just the idea that, look, she's not trying to get away with anything. It's obvious she's got it in the window, in the back, and in the front. Yeah. Nobody's trying to pull any tricks here. She's just trying to, people don't have all the money in the world to keep replacing license plates. This stuff is maddening, what goes on here.
Yeah, and then the people who are out committing the crimes, don't get prosecuted, don't get punished. They get released. It's ridiculous. In fact, she had her car stolen, whether it was last year or 2 years ago, same car, stolen from out in front of her house in North Portland. And later that day, she's driving to work because she got a loaner car. And she's behind her car that had been stolen.
Oh, really?
So she called 911. It's like, yeah, I had reported my car stolen earlier today. I'm right behind it on Interstate Avenue. Could you send an officer over right now to get my car back? And they were like, well, we don't have any officers we can send over right now. But don't follow the car or chase him because that could be dangerous. So don't follow your car, but we don't have someone we can send to help you right now. Gosh. The car ended up somewhere in Salem, and they got pulled over, and she was able to go down and retrieve her car. It was impounded. But there you go. That's the madness. It's crazy. Craziness right there. License plates. Who would have thought that you had to worry about your license plates getting thieved? I think they have some type of gadget. I don't know what it is, but some type of gadget you could put on with your license plates to lock it in place to make it harder to steal.
Yeah. Does she drive she drive a Toyota?
No.
Okay.
Mazda.
Because I know that's frequently one that's stolen. And if you steal a lot of them, you probably would look for a license plate for another Toyota so that when you put it on there, if they did some sort of a check, it would show up being on the same make of car.
Well, why do they go after Toyotas? What's the reason for that?
Supposedly they're easier to steal because of some mechanism with the ignition. They can use keyless entry to get in and then drive the car with them.
Well, as you know, the last 2 years, summertime trips down to the Bay Area to take my daughter to Six Flags. That's kind of a Kaylee and Dad thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my rental car busted into not once but twice. They come over, they bash the window, they yank the stuff out and take off. And so back-to-back years, I had my backpack, my laptop, and, my carry bag with my stuff in it stolen. So infuriating. But what I found out, what the cop told me, because they recovered my backpack and they called me, the Emeryville Police Department, what he told me is that there's they go through these parking lots and there's some type of coding on the car that denotes rental car.
Yeah.
And they always go after the rental cars because they know that usually the rental cars will have luggage or some type of belongings in it. That's why they target that car. There you go. That's that.
Wow. I'm telling you, can't win.
Do you have personalized plates?
No.
Okay.
No.
You say it like you wouldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't.
That's not a you type thing?
No, it's not.
Have you ever had personalized plates?
No.
Okay.
First of all, I just don't want to pay for them. Second of all, I don't know what I put on them. And third of all, I don't think I want people to know that I'm driving that car.
Yeah. When you're the former columnist for extended years in town, you may not want to identify yourself as the Godfather.
That's correct.
But that would be what you would put on it. You'd have to go Godfather.
Wait, some sort of abbreviation for that. That's a little long for a license plate.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. Mike Johnston, the Winterhawks getting ready for the WHL Finals, which are coming up tomorrow. He's going to join the show coming up at 4:20. We'll come back. We got a pair of tickets for AEW that we're going to give away, and then we'll get into a variety of different things. But we want to talk about Jalen Brunson. The guy continues to play well, and Coach Tibbs, he's doing a heck of a job with the Knicks, but his style of coaching is it's taking its toll right now, isn't it, Godfather?
Yeah, he's running out of players.
All right, you got the Rip City Drive. Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. We start with news from the NBA. The Phoenix Suns have fired head coach Frank Vogel after just one season. Phoenix won 49 games but got swept in round one by the Wolves. According to reports, Mike Budenholzer and Chauncey Billups are the leading candidates. Knicks over the Pacers last night in Game 2 to take a 2-0 series lead. Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle upset after the game with the officiating.
We deserve a fair shot. There's not a consistent balance, and that's disappointing.
Game 3 is coming up tomorrow night, 4 o'clock ESPN. Pacers favored by 7.5. Doubleheader tonight with a pair of Game 2s on ESPN. Here in just a moment, Cavs at the Celtics. Boston, a 13.5-point favorite. 6:30, Dallas at OKC. Thunder favored by 4.5. Boston and OKC looking to go up 2-0 in their series. Patrick Beverley given a 4-game suspension for throwing a basketball at a fan at the end of Game 6 in their series with the Pacers, and inappropriate interaction with an ESPN reporter in the locker room. Well, that's bad timing to have to sneeze during the middle of an update, Godfather.
Yeah, I wondered if anybody picked up on the length it took between Chauncey's first name and last name.
All right, Mike Johnston going to join us coming up at 4:20. Winterhawks getting ready for the WHL finals, which are coming up tomorrow. So we'll get his take on the series and what it's going to take to get over. So that's pretty cool. And the first 2 games of that series will be at the Coliseum on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, the best of 7 series is in the 2-3-2 format. So first 2 here, if necessary, last 2 here. So they have the home ice advantage.
All right, Brian Cage is going to be in studio with us on Tuesday at 3:20. I was informed that I should not upset him or he could snap me like a toothpick.
Yeah, well, look up his picture and you'll see why.
All right.
He is a giant of a man.
And we have a pair of tickets to give away for AEW Wrestling right now, May 16th, over at Moda Center. So if you'd like to go, just call now, 503-248-0620. Michael Shacker will get your information, and you can go to check out AEW Wrestling, 503-248-0620. First caller through gets a pair of tickets, 503-248-0620. All Elite Wrestling, May 16th at Moda Center. And Brian Cage will be in studio with us next Tuesday. Jalen Brunson, 29 points last night. Had a foot injury. No one knew if he was going to be able to come back in the second half. But, of course, if you play for Thibodeau and you're Jalen Brunson and you're tough, you're going to find a way to get back in the game. I guess what continues to impress me with him is that I don't know if you can find a player in the league that's more important to their team than Jalen Brunson is to the Knicks. Because without him, you've got nothing. And no matter what teams do, he still gets to his spots, and he's still able to produce. And last night did it with the sore foot, which is impressive. That guy's tough, and I just like his story, and I like who he is, and I like the way he plays. I don't know how he does it, Godfather, but he does it.
You know, he wasn't even a first-round pick.
I know. None of the Knicks starting 5 are lottery guys.
It's amazing. And credit to Thibodeau because he's allowing a lot of freedom to Brunson, which is not something he's accustomed to doing with players. But he's smart enough to know that's his meal ticket. Look, if Brunson can't score, they won't score much. That's just the nature of their team. And, you know, I worry about him moving forward because they're running out of players. You know how, Tibbs overplays everybody. And I was stunned that you'd see a guy sit out with a foot injury as long as he did in the first half. He comes back and plays every second of the second half.
But with Brunson, what about his game do you like the most in terms of what he's able to do on the floor?
Well, he gets to wherever he wants to go, and then he can get shots up against anybody. You know, he gets in the tall timber in the lane, and he's got his hook shot, he's got his step back, his fall away, all those things he does. Great floater game.
The floater's nice.
Oh, it's pretty. I mean, you don't see a lot of that anymore, but a lot of players who can't get all the way to that's a Scoot Henderson shot. If you can't get all the way to the rim, get that shot in your arsenal. That little floater, man, that's tough to defend.
He doesn't take a lot of bad shots.
No, he doesn't. No, he's not a guy he doesn't force anything. He doesn't have to force anything because he gets to the ones he wants. He doesn't have to take what would be tough shots for him. But he's gotten a lot better at the three, too. He did not used to be a great three-point shooter. Man, in the clutch, I think, Chad, you got to get the ball out of his hands. And we know Indiana's a pretty much inept team on defense, and they don't even seem capable. They could double him, but they wouldn't be able to rotate to the open guy, and they'd give up a lot of open shots.
Yeah.
But that's probably what they should do. You cannot let that guy beat you game after game after game.
I think their other concern, too, if they trap and try to throw extra guys to get the ball out of his hands, they're worried about the offensive rebound. And as you've seen throughout the playoffs, the Knicks have been feasting on offensive rebounds and second chance points. They're animals on the glass.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't stop. It's relentless. So he's pretty darn impressive. I love it, too, because I don't even think the Knicks thought that he was going to be this good.
Oh, they couldn't have. No. There's no reason to think he was this good. I don't think. I mean, there's no genius out there who saw this, or they would have taken him in the first round.
Yeah. All right, you mentioned the roster. They're losing guys. OG Anunoby, concerning with the hamstring injury because they don't have anyone that can really replicate or replace what he does.
Mm-hmm. He's out for game 3.
Yes. Brunson, we don't really know what's going on. He's calling it a sore foot.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to believe it could be a little bit worse than just a sore foot.
Yeah.
My guess is he'll go, but they're 7.5-point underdogs now in game 3 with their losses.
Yeah.
This is one of those series where, look, I don't trust Indiana because of their defense, but with the attrition and the Knicks can't afford to really lose key guys, this series could be the Pacers could even this series up real quick.
Yeah. And they're not a good enough team in normal circumstances to do that. And we both thought Knicks in 4 or Knicks in 5.
But the OG injury could change that.
Oh, man.
We could be looking at a 7-gamer potentially.
Yeah, and they lost Robinson, their backup center, in the last game. So, and Tibbs plays like 6 or 7 guys is all he ever plays, and he's going to rue the day he didn't get some of his other bench guys in to blowout games earlier just to get them a little run because I don't know who they're going to get to sign up, but I'm with you, Chad. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana is able to tie this thing up. Without Anunoby, those rebounds aren't going to be as plentiful, and he's pretty good from the corner 3 spot. And honestly, are you going to just keep playing Josh Hart 48 minutes?
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone asked Hart how the injury to OG impacts him. He goes, bleep ain't changing. I'm still playing 48 minutes. It's the same to him.
Yeah.
All right, I want to play this. Let's get to the whiner. I mean, Rick Carlisle. Like, come on. I like Rick.
Yeah.
But he came off pretty soft last night, complaining about the officiating. Take a listen to this mess.
After game 1, we always go through the film in games where it felt like the whistles weren't balanced, and we pull the clips, and there's a way you can submit them to the MDA office. There were 29 plays in game 1 that we thought were clearly called the wrong way. I decided not to submit them because I just felt like we'd get a more balanced whistle tonight. It didn't feel that way. Couple examples: 5:08 of the third. The whole world knows that Halliburton's got a bad back, and Hart comes up and shoves him in the back, and it's all over Twitter right now because a few people have showed it to me, and JB DeRosa's looking right at it. You can see him; he's got vision of the play, and he shoves Tyree in the corner, and there's no whistle right in the back, and so that was shocking, and there are many others, but I can promise you that we're going to submit these tonight. New York can get ready; they'll see them too. I'm always talking to our guys about not making it about the officials, but we deserve a fair shot, and it's just not. There's not a consistent balance, and that's disappointing. Give New York credit for the physicality that they're playing with, but their physicality is rewarded and ours is penalized, just time after time, and so I'm just really disappointed.
I mean, what a dribbling mess that was. I mean, first off, his team had a 10-point lead at halftime. That didn't last very long. Stop blowing leads, and please encourage your team to defend on some level. They gave up 130 points last night.
Yeah,
they're getting annihilated by Brunson, and the Knicks are killing them with energy and their work on the offensive glass.
I agree totally. But I also agree with him about the small market teams, and people don't seem to – I mean, people are shocked to hear that. Like, what is that? We've never thought that. But, no, look, who does the league want? They want the Knicks. They want the Celtics. They want the Lakers. And they want the Warriors, the Bulls. And, yeah, most of those teams aren't going to get there this year. But, look, the officials can't rig every game. If you play so well, there's nothing they can do about it. You know, I saw Sacramento in the playoffs against the Lakers many years ago. They got totally jobbed. They still should have beat the Lakers even with that. Just corral a rebound at the end of the game, and there's nothing the officials can do about it. So even people who are fixing games as referees, they couldn't fix every single one. You just can't do that because the game has too many variables to be able to do that. But I think there is an emphasis on trying to get the best teams to the finals. They need the ratings, especially this year.
Now, when you say fixed games, you're not talking about like fixing games. What you mean is the officials favoring one team or another with the whistle. Yeah,
to try because you can't be obvious about it. You can't just make every call.
Want to make sure that everyone understands what you're saying.
No, but the one exception I made is if you went out there to fix a game, you couldn't do it if you're trying to fix a team that shoots 60% from the field. If you're trying to hurt them, you probably won't be able to do it.
Or there's nothing the officials can do to help Denver and their precious MVP Jokic right now because they're getting annihilated by Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a great example. If you were trying to favor Denver in this series, you'd be outmatched. There'd be nothing you could do. You'd be helpless.
I really do believe that the league would prefer to have certain teams in the NBA Finals.
Of course. They always have.
Yeah, I really believe that.
And David Stern wasn't just joking when he said, give me the Lakers and the Celtics every single season.
Those finals with Magic and Bird, Celtics and Lakers, or the two that we saw with Kobe and Doc Rivers and that gang with Kevin Garnett, I mean, those were big time. Ratings bonanzas for the league. They were huge. So I do believe that. The bottom line is with the Knicks, like, you just got to be better. They're not playing well enough. They're not playing well enough to win games. And if you're not going to give a better effort defensively, and you're definitely not going to get a call to go your way in New York, I don't know what to tell Rick Carlisle. This team's just not good enough. They don't defend. They're not physical enough. Part of the reason why they're not getting the benefit of the doubt with the whistle is because the Knicks are the more physical team. They're manhandling them all over the place. They're the Pacers.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've played that way all season. They want to score. They're going to run up a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points. This is the playoffs now. You can't win as often in the playoffs playing that way.
What I would do if I were them over the next couple of games in Indiana, push the pace. You got New York who's banged up and dealing with fatigue. I'd push the pace, right? Run and gun.
Yeah.
Anything good going on in the chat over there?
Yeah, they're on our case.
About what?
Billups.
What are they saying about Billups?
Well, we don't know anything about Billups. He's terrible.
I'm boring the Godfather again. He's finding the chat more interesting than my conversation.
No, I'm not, but I'm just keeping track. I'm keep receipts, Chad. I'm just trying to keep receipts for us. These guys are all over us, both of us.
I like Billups. I do. What can I say? I like Billups. And I don't think that you can really evaluate him as a coach for what he's had to deal with here in the last 3 years. I just don't.
Yeah.
But Rick Carlisle, I expect more from Rick instead of sounding like a whining little baby. That's pathetic, man. Come on.
It's especially bad when you lose a game and give up 130 points to the New York Knicks, who can't score 130 points. But it's just like we said, they would pick them apart, and that's what they're doing.
I just don't like whiners. But Jamal Murray, Ben made this point. Jamal Murray's out of control, too. Not only did he not show up to talk to the press after game 2 in his meltdown when he acted like a little girl, he also, when he showed up for press availability a couple of days after that game, someone asked him a question about his act. He said, hey, That game was a couple of days ago. Anything about Game 3?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is the first time you've talked to the press since that went down.
Yeah, it was more on to Cincinnati than anything else.
It's like, come on, man. All right, Mike Johnston, Winterhawks, coming up next to preview the WHL Finals. All right, the WHL finals will kick off tomorrow at Memorial Coliseum with your Portland Winterhawks. And joining us right now is the president, GM, and coach of the Winterhawks, Mike Johnston, here on the Rip City Drive. Hey, Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, how did things go for you in the draft today?
Well, we're drafting 2009 born players, so they're quite young. Our scouts do a phenomenal job. So we have scouts all over Western Canada and through some of the cities in the U.S. and our territory. And we identified 11 players in the draft today that our scouts really like for different reasons. And they'll come to training camp in August, and hopefully some of them will be in our uniform a year from now.
Okay, Mike, I want to get to the finals that start tomorrow. But first, I have to take a look back. You guys were able to beat Prince George, and you had to win twice on their ice, including the climactic game where you went into double overtime to do it. How tough was that series on your guys? I know you lost a few due to injury during this series. Are you ready to go now for the finals?
Yeah, we are. And I think no matter what level you're looking at, whether it's the NBA, NHL, or our level, when you're going through each round of the playoffs, there's going to be challenges with injuries for sure. You hope you stay as healthy as possible, but people are going to get banged up. Playoff hockey is intense. It's physical. It's demanding, as you mentioned, with travel and everything. And so we've played Victoria in our first round, and then we played Everett in our second round, and now we just finished off Prince George, and that was a challenging series just because of the drive between here and Prince George, back and forth. But it was good to finish that off in 6 games up there on their ice and give us a couple days rest, and especially to have home ice advantage heading into this series with Moose Jaw, the championship series.
Okay, I want to ask you about Moose Jaw, a team that I don't think has ever won the league championship. And you played them, I think, just once. I could only find one game. It was here. You lost by a goal, I think. Yeah, give me a little scouting report on Moose Jaw.
Yeah, so Moose Jaw was basically the second best team in the Western Conference. They added some top-end players at the trade deadline this year. So they have 4 or 5 legit NHL players on their team. So they've got some high-end talent, a little bit like Prince George in that way. And when we played them, we only played them once, the other conference, and we played them here in Portland. It was a 1-goal game, as you mentioned. It was a really tight checking game. It was close overall. And I expect the series to be a lot like that. So the first 2 games are here in Portland Friday, Saturday. And then we head off to Moose Jaw, and we'll play Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday up in Moose Jaw. And if games 6 and 7 are needed, they'll come back to Portland.
Okay, you mentioned the Warriors making some trade deadline deals, and I've talked to you about this in the past, Mike. You've always been cognizant of maybe what your team needs right about Christmas time and a little after. And this year you added Danielson, who looks to me like a guy who is just a natural leader on and off the ice. But what has he done for your team? Has he helped you enormously, a little bit? You had a good team before, I know, but talk about what he's done for you.
So as you mentioned, Dwight, basically our team, our players that were drafted or listed by us, they've grown up in the Portland Winterhawk organization. We rarely make any trades, but usually we'll tweak our team close to Christmas and add a player or two that we really think can help us. So just prior to Christmas, we added Tyson Jugnoth, who left the University of Wisconsin, was playing there, a defenseman who the Seattle Kraken had drafted, and a really mobile, very dynamic defenseman. So he helped our defense group. And then heading into the trade deadline, we were looking for a forward. Nate Danielson was a guy who's always impressed us in this league. He was playing in Brandon. He was a 9th overall pick by the Detroit Red Wings, a very good two-way center, big character guy in the dressing room. He's really helped our group overall. It just adds you that extra depth, that presence out there on the ice of a veteran guy who's been to NHL camps, is going to be an NHL player. It really helps to have a guy like that can play 200 feet down the middle of the ice.
We're talking with Mike Johnston, the president, GM, and coach of the Portland Winterhawks. They kick off the WHL finals tomorrow. Puck drops at 7 over at Memorial Coliseum. I wanted to ask you about your goalie, Jan Spoonar, who had 48 saves on 49 shots in the series clincher. How good is he, and how much has he meant to your team this year?
Well, Jan has had a great season. Last year was his first year from the Czech Republic over here with us, and I thought during the first half 2 years ago, he's got used to North America and the game and the size of the ice surface, which is different than in Europe for a goaltender. And then he got better and better as the year went along. And then this year he came in and was one of the top goaltenders in the league. Then he got injured before Christmas and was out for 9 weeks. So sometimes you worry as a coaching staff about your goaltender if he's out injured for that long to get back in a groove and back in sync. But when he came back in February, he was bang on the way he was before Christmas. He's one of the best goaltenders in the league. He's got great size, great calmness in the net. I think he's done a phenomenal job for us through the season, and then he's continued to do that in the playoffs.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, you did get some good help defensively, but you had to play the last couple games against Prince George without Luca Gagnoni, who I felt he's one of the best defensemen I've ever seen you guys have, and it's unusual because he's not a big guy. He's not this stereotypical look that I see from a defenseman. How is he going to be? Are you going to be able to play him in this series?
Yeah, well, he's getting close. We'll determine that over the next 24 hours, but we like his progress. He was only able to play one game in the Prince George series, and you're right. He is, if not the top defenseman in the league, one of the top 2 or 3 for sure. He's a dynamic defenseman who can carry the play, make good breakout passes, get you out of your own zone clean, and he's a San Jose draft pick. He's another one of our good young defensemen that's been drafted to the NHL.
Hey, Mike, are you guys going to be using a bus to get to Moose Jaw? Because I'm looking at the drive time. It's about 17 hours. What's up with that?
Yeah, no, our league is, as you know, is a bus league, but when it comes to the finals, both teams will fly.
Right.
And both teams will fly together, so that'll be a nice flight after a couple of games in Portland.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Historically, that's been the deal. I actually made that trip once in the old days, and the other team is on that plane, and you guys have just gotten out beating the heck out of each other on the ice. Has that always worked okay, or have there been some problems, Mike?
No, it's fine. I think there's a lot of respect between teams at this time of the year. You've got 2 very good hockey teams battling it out for the championship. So I think it's going to be a hard-fought series, going to be an exciting series. And if you're a fan of hockey, even if you're a new fan of the sport, you're going to see some great players out there on the ice, some exciting games being played. And we're thrilled to start it here in Portland. And we deserved it because our guys finished higher in the standings. They've earned it through the year. So hopefully home ice is going to be an advantage for us.
Okay, lastly now, give us a key for you guys. What do you have to do? What's the biggest thing you're going to need to do against this team?
Well, I think there's on both ends. I think we're going to have to make sure we check their top guys and we don't give them time and space, try and limit their time and space all over the ice. And then we're going to have to try and earn our own and get some offensive zone time so we can have the puck in the offensive zone and start to work it down there and get some good scoring opportunities.
Well, Mike, we appreciate your time. We wish you the very best in the WHL finals, and hopefully you guys will be able to go out there and secure the win. The games will kick off tomorrow, game 1 and 2 on Friday and Saturday, the puck dropping at 7 o'clock. The president, GM, and coach of the Portland Winterhawks, Mike Johnston, here on the Rip City Drive.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Well, that's good. They get to fly, Godfather.
Yeah, that's just when you play the other conference. I mean, some of those cities are way over there, and buses are just impossible. It's great that the league springs for a charter plane just for the finals anyway.
Yeah, Moose Jaw over 1,000 miles away from Portland. Oh, God. If you were to drive, it's 17 hours and 44 minutes.
And during the season, they make an eastern swing, and they do take the bus on that. So, and I actually took one of those rides with them many years ago when I was at the Oregonian just to see what it was like. And I guarantee it was the last time I did it.
It looks like they're doing a pretty good job of moving some tickets for game 1. but you can still get in. $37.
That's a great price for. Isn't this, folks, is high level hockey? You're going to see each team's got 4 or 5 NHL players on it, at least that many, and they play very well. Both teams, I'm sure, are well coached. I know this one is.
I think my favorite Winter Hawk player of all time is Adam Deadmarsh.
Oh man, you picked a good one.
Yeah,
tough kid.
Tough. Went on to play and star for the Avalanche.
He sure did.
Yeah.
Well, his career was cut short with concussions, or he'd have played a lot longer. He was good enough to stay up there a long time.
There's probably been a few hockey players to suffer multiple concussions over the course of time.
Yeah, some of them diagnosed and some of them not, I'm sure.
I knew when I was younger families that housed Winterhawks. You know, the host families.
Mm-hmm. Billups. Yeah.
They enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. You get free tickets to the games, too, I think.
I think that's one of the benefits there,
yeah, nothing
which
wrong
is
with
nice.
that.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Big thanks to Mike Johnston and Ben Gulliver for joining the show today. We do have a Bo Nix update that we'll get to a little bit later in the show.
Yes!
I've got more news on Bo, if you can believe that. More information on Bo Nix. We have a number now. His number has been selected for what he's going to wear.
This is kind of Bo Nix headquarters right here, I think.
Yeah, whether you want it to be or not, that's the way it's going to be.
That's right.
I can't get enough of the talk right now. The speculation on whether or not he's going to start, what number he's going to wear, the mini camp, which will kick off tomorrow. It's going to run tomorrow through the weekend. So all the rookies, including Franklin. And I think Franklin chose number 16 because I think there were 16 wide receivers selected ahead of him in the NFL draft.
Oh.
So very interesting choice there on the number.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
So
somebody's keeping track.
Keeping big time track.
Yeah.
A couple of games I wanted to ask you about tonight. Right now, Boston and Cleveland tied up at 21 in the first quarter. We got game 2 with Dallas and Oklahoma City. What are you expecting from this game here? Just more of the same, Boston dominance?
Yeah, I am. I especially when they get to the benches. You know, you get into the second quarter, and Boston unleashes that bunch of players off the bench. They're really good off the bench, and Cleveland not so much. I've kind of, you know, it's funny, since he's been traded, I've taken kind of a new assessment of Donovan Mitchell. I'm not sure I like him, Chad. I think he's mostly a hero ball guy, an ISO guy. He doesn't include his teammates much. He lost, I think, an inordinate amount of bad shots. But I don't know. Sometimes they need to get the ball inside to their bigs a little more than they do.
Well, that's my biggest complaint is that I love both their bigs, and I would like to see them get those two guys a little more involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Jared Allen's playing tonight. He didn't play in game 1. So I don't
think he's playing tonight.
Yeah.
But I like him, too. He's tough.
Uh-huh.
Mobley's a great player. They've got a pretty good roster, so we'll see how things shake out. But I expect Boston to have a pretty easy time in this series. What about game 2, Dallas and Oklahoma City tonight? Will we see better play? I would imagine Luka will be better tonight. What are you expecting in game 2?
No, I'm expecting Dallas to be better. I'm expecting a close game. I think they'll keep it close. I still like I like OKC in the series, and I probably like them tonight too. I think they win at home most of the time. It's kind of a tough place to play. This is a tough place to stay for 2 or 3 days too, as far as that goes.
Oh, by the way, Jokic got his third MVP.
Yeah.
If you had a vote, or if you were still voting, would you have cast your ballot for Jokic this year?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he probably deserved it last year too. I just think he's the best guy in the league. Now, everybody has to be reminded every single time it's a regular season award. It has nothing to do with the playoffs. And, yeah, he's not playing well right now, but there's reasons for that.
It was bizarre to see him get the award with what happened in game 2 fresh in our minds, where he and Murray were just getting destroyed by Minnesota's defense.
Yeah, it was kind of sad, actually, to see that.
Yeah, I don't really get too worked up over the MVP award.
I agree.
Sometimes it goes to the right player and sometimes it doesn't.
Did you see that Rick Bucher revealed that he had gotten an email from Clutch Sports encouraging him to vote for LeBron for MVP?
I did not hear that.
Now, teams for years have done that. They will send out a little, like, for instance, Seattle sending out like a glove, vote for Gary Payton, a glove. And I remember, One year, Utah sent me a mailman's hat. Vote for Karl Malone, the mailman, for this or that. Teams doing this one thing. The agents getting involved in that's kind of another thing.
That's the way of the world now, right? The agents have a lot of power.
You remember, too, the fans used to vote. It was fan vote. That was when they passed out the computer cards to vote to the fans in the arena.
Yeah.
Agents used to get a hold of thousands of those and hire 50 people to come into the office and just sit there all day putting their players' names in there.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're an agent, you got to take care of your guys.
Yeah, you're trying. Well, they get a bonus for making the All-Star game. You might even get a chunk of that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the MVP award, I just don't care who wins MVP. It's with those type of awards that are voted on, everyone's got their biases. It just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's true. And they get fatigued. They get tired of voting for the same guy. That's why it's really hard to win.
Jokic will never win another MVP award.
Yeah, I agree.
He's done. He's gotten his 3, and now voters will move and look for other guys.
Yeah.
I would say Shea Gilgeous, he was up there near the top. He was terrific this year. Jalen Brunson maybe didn't have the numbers that some of the other guys had, but he's an MVP candidate without question based on what he's done.
He will be next year. This is his coming out party in the playoffs with all this attention. He'll not be overlooked again.
I would agree with that. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, something that could impact your kids' efforts to fundraise for their respective sports. We'll get to that story coming up next. And also, I don't want to ignore the YouTube chat. So if you have a question on the YouTube chat for Dwight or I, anything that's on your mind, load up the questions now, and we will answer those next. All right?
Sure.
Fire away with your questions on the YouTube chat. You can go to youtube.com, go to our homepage, Rip City Radio 620, and you'll find the link to our live shows right there. So if you got questions on the YouTube chat, fill them up, and we will get to those next on the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather. What is this latest news or decision was made by the Portland Public Schools board?
Well, Chad, here we go again. The Portland School Board has decided, it's the school board for the Portland Public Schools, they've decided there's going to be only one foundation spreading money across all schools in the district. And right now there's 30 foundations raising money across most of the schools in Portland.
And that money is raised for a variety of different activities?
Yeah,
projects?
some raise more money than others, but yeah, many times it's used to add teacher aids or books or things for the library or whatever. They have them, I know, that help the athletic teams out, maybe give them an extra set of uniforms, put dugouts onto the softball fields or whatever. They use it forever, but they've decided, excuse me, that it's unfair that some schools raise more money than others do. So they're going to have one foundation raising money, and then that foundation will decide where that money goes. How does that sound?
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's like if you want to help your kids' schools and you see a need and you want to contribute, well, they need this or that or whatever. Apparently, you got to give to the foundation. They'll decide whether or not your school deserves that. And it's basically the feeling that some schools aren't raising probably very much money at all, and other schools are raising thousands and thousands of dollars.
So if someone wanted to donate money to one of the Portland Public Schools baseball teams or basketball teams?
Well, it looks that way, yeah. Or, help construction of an athletic. Say you needed more bleachers on your football field or soccer field or something. It doesn't look as if that's going to be allowed.
But if you were going to donate money to a school, couldn't you earmark it for something specific?
It doesn't appear that way.
Well, this is ridiculous.
And there, the opponents of this, and there were 1,000 people signed a petition in opposition to it. They say, just wait, your donations are going to be down because if people don't think it's going to go where they want it to go, they're not going to donate. They're not interested in donating to schools that maybe their kids aren't going to. I get that. If I'm going to help a school, I want to help the ones my kids are in. And maybe I see a need there, and the people in that school see a need that somebody in some foundation over at the district office doesn't understand.
This sounds like the old redistribution of wealth trick.
Oh, boy, is it ever. Yes.
Have you talked to David about this?
No, I haven't had a chance to do it.
I'd like to get his take on this, too.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything that most people in the schools would like because they I think, deservedly so, they'd like to have control of the money donated to their school. And obviously, that can be a little bit of a discussion among those schools, too. Some people think money should go here or there. But if you want to be a teacher and go out and say, hey, our kids need art supplies. We don't have any crayons, paints. We can't do anything in this kindergarten class. And so we need it. Well, what would be wrong with the parents getting together and come up with a couple $100 and contribute so the kids can have their stuff? I would hope that on that level you could still do something like that and that this is more concerned with major donations, but it doesn't sound like it in the news story I read.
Okay, so you went to Cleveland?
Yes.
All right, so let's say, and you play baseball there, right?
Correct.
What if you wanted to make a donation, a sizable donation to Cleveland's baseball team for whatever, uniforms, dugouts, whatever the case may be? So you wouldn't, under this new rule, you wouldn't be able to give the money directly to the Cleveland baseball team. It would have to go through this foundation, and then they would redistribute that money, not just to the baseball team, but to other programs that are in need?
Yeah. And actually, I had a similar experience, Chad.
How does that work?
Well, I'm guessing it won't work well, and there'll be biases among whatever committee decides to take this task over. But when my son was playing at Cleveland, he played the same school I did. They needed an outfield fence. They didn't have one. I didn't have the money to buy them fencing, but I went to the Portland Amateur Baseball Association, which was they raised a lot of money for amateur baseball. They decided to grant us the money to put that fence around. It was a removable fence so that when the season was ended, we could take it down, store it, and then the field could be used for soccer, or football, or whatever they wanted to do in the park. So it was a great deal, and no credit to me. The credit was to the group who donated it. But it seems to me now, I'm not sure they would be able to donate that to the baseball program. It would have to go into a fund at the school district. It might be used for some grade school somewhere needing a sandbox or a slide.
Well, we can always depend on the school board to come up with genius ideas.
I've heard there are a lot of people complaining about it already.
Well, it's going to kill motivation to go out and fundraise.
Yeah.
Because if you have a desire to help with a specific team or different program and fundraise specifically for that, but if the funds you help raise with all your efforts are going to go directly to that program or team or whatever, and it's going to go into the big pot where you have decision makers redistributing that, that's just not going to work well.
And Chad, there's some kids in the neighborhood who probably think I'm kind of a jerk, but they knock on the door and they want my money for some project, and they're selling me a 5-cent candy bar for it. And that's fine. I don't care. I'll donate, but I always ask, what's this going for? What are you doing with the money? And they could usually tell me, I'm from Canby High School, and we're trying to get students to be able to take field trips to whatever. Okay, that sounds good to me. I'll give you the money. But if they come to me and say, well, I'm not sure where the money's going. It's going to the Canby School District, and then I don't think so. They can come up with their own money because they're taxing me anyway. You know?
There's nothing wrong with asking.
We're paying plenty of school taxes as it is. And every time a school measure goes up for a bond measure, it always passes. In Portland, it passes virtually every single time. So, there you go. And I don't want to be the guy given just to some pool where I don't know where the money's going.
Dude, I remember rolling around the neighborhood in the 80s trying to raise money for my T-ball team, selling world's finest chocolate bars.
Oh, world's finest. Everybody had to sell those, yeah.
And it was $1 a bar. World's finest. You remember that?
Sure do. Excuse you.
All right. We'll keep things rolling here on the show. I need to start a fundraiser for my daughter's eating habits at school. Her lunch account's getting out of control, Godfather. Can you donate? It's going to Kaylee.
If it's going directly to her, I'd be happy to.
I appreciate that.
But I want to hear it from her mouth. I don't want to give it to you first. There's something about that.
That's probably smart. All right, we'll come back. We got a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns, who are taking on Seattle on Saturday at Providence Park. We'll give those away. And we'll hear from Rick Carlisle, who is very upset about the officiating. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, 5 o'clock, Chad here. Right now, Game 2, Eastern Conference semis with the Celtics and Cavs. Boston leads that series 1-0. They have a 51-43 lead with 4 minutes to play in the first half at TD Garden. Elsewhere, the Knicks over the Pacers last night in Game 2 to take a 2-0 series lead. Game 3 is tomorrow, 4 o'clock ESPN. Pacers a 7.5-point favorite. Game 2 tonight, 6:30, Dallas at OKC. Thunder favored by 4.5. Oklahoma City looking for the win to take a 2-0 series lead. Patrick Beverley given a 4-game suspension for throwing a basketball at a fan twice at the end of Game 6 in their series against the Pacers, and an inappropriate interaction with an ESPN reporter in the locker room. We got more of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now. We have a 4-pack of tickets to give away for the Portland Thorns, who are taking on Seattle this Saturday. We'll do it next.
It's time for the big story of the day on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad.
I'm always talking to our guys about not making it about the officials. We deserve a fair shot.
The big story of the day is powered by Powered Kia. The largest selection of Kias in Oregon is at poweredkia.com.
All right, the Portland Thorns are taking on the Seattle Reign Saturday at Providence Park. If you would like tickets, we have a 4-pack to give away, and we'd like to do that right now. First caller through gets a pair of tickets, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. That is your telephone number. First caller through gets a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns. If you'd like to see them, call now. Shacker will get you information, 503-248-0620, and you can get your single game tickets now at timbers.com/ThornsFC. Have a good time at the game, and thanks for listening to the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Let's go out to the phones, Godfather, and then we'll get to the playoffs. And Rick Carlisle. Haven't talked to the Rev in a while. Rev, long time no chat, my man. What's up?
Hey, what's up? Chad, Godfather, nice listening to you guys. You guys are always informative and entertaining, the two things that radio talk show hosts have to be.
Thank you.
Music to our ears. Thanks, Rev.
So I called a little bit earlier, and then I had to blow Mike Shacker off because I had to go into the liquor store. I had to pick up a Birdie bottle for Saturday out at Cross Creek. Either Cross Creek or maybe Forest Hills. Haven't quite decided yet. But you guys were talking about the Winterhawks and your favorite Winterhawks. And you mentioned Adam Deadmarsh, who's a quality selection there. But you cannot talk about the best Winterhawks of all time without mentioning the name Marian Hossa.
That's who I was going to say. Yep.
Marian Hossa was incredible. It's too bad his knees weren't a little bit more solid. I mean, he had a good career in the NHL, but that guy was a magician on ice. But my two favorite Winterhawks of all time, especially because they played together, and it was the funnest time for the Winterhawks, when Cale Hulse and John Baduke were on the ice. It was electric. And you know what? Other teams would try to, they'd send a guy up to try to test him, to test their manhood. I never saw Cale Hulse lose one fight. Those guys were amazing.
It was mayhem when those two guys were together. But Duke was a tough customer, real tough.
Oh, he reminded me of one of our good buddies, Jim the Dauber Dobson. I enjoyed a lot of Winterhawks games with the Dauber.
Come on, Rev. Now, the one thing, Dauber could score goals by the dozens, but Dauber wasn't a fighter, and he wouldn't admit to that.
Well, no, but it was just fun. It was fun being around him, and especially when Hulse and Baduke were on the ice. I mean, Dauber would turn into a little kid before our eyes. Mm-hmm. And those were just back in the Memorial Cups and Memorial Coliseum back in the day with the old Winterhawks. Yeah. I mean, that was just the best.
It really was.
Hey, Rev, when you mentioned Cross Creek, I assume you're talking about the course that's off Highway 22 close to Spirit Mountain. I have not played it. How is Cross Creek?
Well, the next time that you do a gig out at Spirit Mountain, you got to tie it in. Cross Creek is a hell of a golf course. It's part of the O'Meara and Redding family that have like 7 golf courses in the state of Oregon. You've got Tim and Kathy Tarpley that have Cross Creek. You've got Bill and Kay O'Meara and their son Ryan that have Wildwood. You have the Redding brothers. One has McKay Creek in Hillsboro. Other one has Evergreen out in Mount Angel. Both are sweet little 9-hole courses, and they trick out their courses. They detail and reinvest in their courses, much like Marcus Spiros is doing out at Forest Hills right now. You people haven't played Forest Hills in the last couple of years. You got to go out there and see all the new reconstruction and the new holes they've done out there. It's incredible.
That's great, man. I can't wait to check it out. What's your take on what you're seeing from the NBA playoffs right now?
Well, I mean, the Knicks, Indiana, it's entertaining. It'd be a lot more entertaining if Carlisle would leave McConnell out there, because that chippiness between him and Jalen Brunson is really entertaining. And they're actually, I think he was going for more scoring when he took McConnell out. But as soon as he did that, then Brunson had more freedom out on the court, and the Knicks pulled away from him. That series is kind of a foregone conclusion. I think the Knicks are probably going to take it in 5 or 6, but they don't have the firepower to take out Boston. I'm looking right now. The Minnesota and OKC is going to be a hell of a matchup. I'm looking for Minnesota to take that one, even though they don't have the home court advantage. And I'm looking for a Minnesota-Boston finals, which I think is going to be highly entertaining this year.
All right, Rev. I'm glad you checked in, buddy. It's good to hear your voice, and I look forward to playing golf with you this summer.
Well, let's go hit Cross Creek, man. I'm telling you, that's a hell of a golf course.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, man. I've checked it. I've driven by it a billion times. I just haven't had a chance to play it because usually when I'm down there, I'm going to Spear Mountain for work. So that's nice. There's a Rev checking in.
Yeah.
He was dropping some old school Winterhawk names on you there.
He sure was. And Jim the Dauber Dobson has made his home in Portland ever since he played here. Everybody that goes to games knows Dauber. He's at the Winterhawks all the time. He's always got a laugh ready for you, remembering the old days. I love to run into Dauber. I saw him just the other night when I was at the Hawks game, full of information for me. Love you, Dauber.
All right. I want your take on Rick Carlisle. I'll play the clip, and then you can share your thoughts. This goes back to what we were talking about yesterday about the image problem that the league has.
Yeah.
How much do you think Rick Carlisle is going to get fined for his comments suggesting that the small market team needs to get a fair shake?
Oh, it'll probably cost him $25.
Here's Rick Carlisle frustrated with the officiating after the game last night. Knicks lead that series now 2-0.
After game one, we always go through the film, and games where it felt like the whistles weren't balanced, and we pull the clips, and there's a way you can submit them to the MDA office. There were 29 plays in game one that we thought were clearly called the wrong way. I decided not to submit them because I just felt like we get a more balanced whistle tonight. It didn't feel that way. Couple examples: 5:08 of the third. The whole world knows that Halliburton's got a bad back, and Hart comes up and shoves him in the back, and it's all over Twitter right now because a few people have showed it to me. And JB DeRosa's looking right at it. You can see him. He's got vision of the play. And he shoves Ty right into the corner, and there's no whistle, right in the back. And so that was shocking, and there are many others. But I can promise you that we're going to submit these tonight. New York can get ready. They'll see them too. I'm always talking to our guys about not making it about the officials, but, we deserve a fair shot, and it's just not. There's not a consistent balance. And that's disappointing. Give New York credit for the physicality that they're playing with, but their physicality is rewarded and ours is penalized, just time after time. And so I'm just really disappointed.
I like the way he says penalized. We are penalized. Okay,
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Coach. What's he hoping to gain by coming out and sounding like that?
I don't know. Maybe he thinks he's going to get a few more calls in the next game. That's all I can think of. I think a lot of it is just pent-up frustration. It does you no good to do that. You might believe it. You might think it. Submit your clips to the NBA if you want, because that does no good either. But do what you have to do, but don't take it public. There's no point in it. Nobody's going to sympathize with him.
It would be different. Like I saw it with the Nuggets, too. They were melting down and complaining. I was really disappointed in Jamal Murray because he's kind of a pace setter for that team.
Yeah.
And once he went south and started complaining, it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. So everyone's focused on the officiating instead of making adjustments and playing better. The Minnesota Timberwolves won that game, not because the officiating was poor, but because they defensively dominated the Nuggets and just played better. Same thing last night. Like, I understand what he's saying. He's going to have a hard time getting a call for his team in that building, Madison Square Garden. But the Knicks outplayed him. They've outplayed him in both games.
And he talks about the physicality. Everybody in the league knows the aggressor gets the calls.
Always.
The guy that hits first is fine. It's the retaliation and the response that gets penalized. So he might try the idea of hitting first, being more aggressive than the Knicks. But, you know, they haven't been coached that way all year. They're a finesse team. They're not a physical team. If they ever wanted to win a championship, they better get more physical.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. They're going to have an opportunity to even up this series.
Yeah.
Because the Knicks are banged up right now.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson's got the sore foot. We don't know really what's going on with the foot other than that he was able to come back in the second half last night and did a heck of a job. So he may be limited with his movement in Game 3. OG Anunoby is a massive loss because he's been key on the boards for them, and they don't have anyone who can really replicate what he does with his size and his defense. He's a terrific player. So the Pacers, if they can push the pace and utilize the home energy, they got a chance to get back in this series quickly. And the Knicks, you just hope with Tom Thibodeau that I think he's had to play his guys the way he's played them in order to compete and put themselves in this position, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and Chad, if it was healthy team versus healthy team, it's a 4 or 5 game Knick series win.
100%.
I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But as he runs out of players, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. And they will play well together, I promise you, because that's the way he coaches. They'll play good team basketball. They'll hustle. They'll play pretty good defense, given who they have out there. So they have a chance to win these games. And they'll probably take one out of the two, I think. But I would guess Indy would get one of the two at home.
All right, here is a couple of thoughts on Jalen Brunson. First off, Dante DiVincenzo talking about Brunson returning in that second half.
I mean, he's a warrior. That's all I got. I mean, there was no doubt in our minds that, you know, he'll be back all season long, no matter what is thrown at him, you know, injury bug or whatever, he always bounces back. And we knew the severity of the game and everything, so we knew, you know, everybody had confidence he was coming back.
All right, there's Dante on Jalen, and here's Tom Thibodeau.
A lot of toughness. That's sort of, I think, the makeup. We know that's his makeup, but it's also the makeup of our team. I thought we started the game well. The end of the first didn't go as well as we would like. Then the second quarter was a problem, but I love the way we responded in the third, and then the way we finished it out in the fourth.
Well, he sounds exhausted. Did he play 48 minutes last night?
I'll tell you, he, in a sense, I mean, he works as hard as his players do.
Gosh. They seem to respect him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Josh Hart's an animal right now. 48 minutes and playing with full energy.
Yeah.
He's going to go down as a Knick legend if he's not careful.
Yeah.
That building was charged up last night. They're fun to watch. It's weird to watch the Knicks right now because they're kind of an underdog story based on the way they're put together with Jalen Brunson. I'm enjoying watching him play. And I'm not a Knick guy. Like, I normally want bad things to happen to them for their fans and everything, but I like what I'm seeing right now. I can get behind a team that defends and gets after it and plays with that type of hustle and fight.
I almost think Tibbs is smart. He knows after this series it's over, he knows they're not going to beat the Knicks. So he's putting all his cards on the table right now. He's going all in on winning this series. Going to play guys too long. He's just going to push the limits of this to get this far, and then whatever happens against the Celtics happens.
Yeah, 100%. Because they would be exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
They get to the conference finals.
Oh.
You lose to the Celtics, who had the best record in the NBA. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
It would be fun to watch that series if they were fully healthy, but there's not.
And with him there, I don't know if they're ever going to reach the playoffs fully healthy. They're going to lose a body or two along the way.
He can't just let a game go in the regular season. That's not how he operates.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back with a Bo Nix update.
Yes.
Yes. You
All
got the Rip City
right.
Drive with Dwight and Chad. Godfather, you know what's crazy? The Suns, they gave Frank Vogel a 5-year, $31 million contract last year.
Is that an impetuous, new, young owner who has no idea what he's doing?
5 years, $31 million. He's got like another $25 million that he can just sit back and collect.
Yeah.
If I was Vogel, I'd be like, screw the NBA. I'm out. Peace out.
You'll never see me again or hear my name again. I'm buying an island somewhere in the South Pacific.
You could probably make that $25 million that he's got coming over the next 4 years stretch out for quite a while, couldn't you?
Yeah. Like 100 years for your kids and your grandkids. That's a lot of money.
Man, it just goes to show you how much these coaches love what they do. They can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be a part of the action. They're addicted to it. They're addicted to coaching. They love being in there in between the lines and drawing up plays or doing whatever they do. They love the charge from that.
You know, Chad, though, he is a classic case of, I mean, you give a guy 1 year, he wins 49 games. He doesn't have your key piece, Beal, for, he has him about, 2/3 of the season, I guess. They never get comfortable. You've stripped every role player and key piece off the bench. They got nothing coming in. They have no point guard, and he gets fired because he gets swept by a team that's probably going to sweep the defending champions.
I do think that's going to happen. I think Minnesota's going to win tomorrow, and then they'll finish out the series by destroying the Nuggets in Game 4. That's kind of how I see it playing out. The Nuggets will put together some type of effort tomorrow and be in position or make it competitive, but I think they're going to get swept out. I really do.
Yeah, if they go down 3-0, they're almost certain to lose the fourth one.
And Denver's done nothing to lead me to believe that they can figure out some type of combination that would lead to a victory tomorrow night on the road with Rudy Gobert returning.
Yeah, they have to stumble onto something because they show no signs of having a key to unlock that problem they're in now.
And I would say it's much more likely that Jamal Murray continues to struggle than it is somehow he's going to figure out, like, oh, this is what I need to do, and then get off.
Yeah.
It's tough. They just keep throwing bodies at you, and they're going to be energized. You thought they were rough in Denver? I can't wait to see the type of energy they play with tomorrow, defensively.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards is going to get off. You know he's going to get off. They're a dangerous team right now. I just at least we got the question answered. How would Minnesota and Oklahoma City do? How are they going to do come postseason time? They don't have the experience. Well, what we're seeing is that they're doing just fine. Oklahoma City looked great in Game 1 against Dallas. They are loaded. They got so many players. Like, I forget as I'm watching, like, oh, yeah, they got that guy too. Oh, Lou Dort. Oh, Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
2 Jalen Williams.
It's like Ben said to us earlier today, Ben Gulliver, the story of this year's playoffs really is the emergence of these young teams.
Yeah, and it's fun from the standpoint that we're seeing all these other teams that normally aren't in a position have a chance to battle. Yeah. Obviously, Boston's there, but the Knicks haven't been a factor for a long period of time. It's been fun to watch them. Indiana's kind of been in no man's land for a while. They're a factor right now. Obviously, Minnesota and Oklahoma City. It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
I'm enjoying seeing that. I think my favorite, the Knicks they've been great because the games have been close and compelling.
Uh-huh.
Whether it's controversy from officials or it's big plays from Josh Hart or Jalen Brunson, like, I hate to admit it, but the Knicks have been very entertaining so far.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they have, and partly because they're so scrappy. They are fun to watch. I can see how their fans can get behind that. Every fan loves to see that kind of effort from their team.
All right, it's time. I am ready. Dwight's ready. Michael Shacker is ready. Let's get a Bo Nix update.
First and foremost, it's just a huge honor. He could have picked, anybody else in this draft, and he chose me.
A little theme music on a regular feature, the Bo Nix Update.
The Rip City Drive presents the Bo Nix Update.
This is what we want to do. We want to give you the keys and let you go drive the car.
Here on 620 Rip City Radio.
My love is pretty deep right now. It's very deep. All right, Bo Nix, we know what number he's going to be wearing, Godfather. He is going to wear number 10, which he wore at Oregon and at Auburn.
Yeah.
The thing is, when he was selected by Denver, Zach Wilson, who was acquired from the Jets, had taken the number 10, But according to reports, Wilson offered up the jersey to Bo Nix. He didn't even request compensation in return. Normally, players will be like, yeah, I'll give you the number 10, but there's got to be some type of exchange.
Compensation.
Yeah. And they usually pay big money for that kind of stuff, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever the number might be.
Mm-hmm.
But my guess is because Zach Wilson was not entrenched as a Broncos player, he had just come over in the trade. And because he's Zach Wilson, he's like, don't worry, bro. I got you. You can have number 10. And now Zach Wilson, who wore number 2 with the Jets, was going to wear 10 with the Broncos. Now Bo Nix is going to wear number 10. So Zach Wilson will wear number 4. And then Jarrett Stidham, who could be a trade candidate in the very near future. I think he's going to don the number 8. So there you go. Get your number 10 Bronco jerseys now. Bo Nix has got his numbers, so he's set and ready to go. And the Broncos kick off their rookie minicamp tomorrow. It's going to be May 10th through the 12th, so it'll be tomorrow through the weekend. And they'll have some, 55-plus players who will be a part of that. Some of them are, there as a kind of a walk-on tryout. Other players are guys who they selected, so you get the rookie camp, and obviously Bo Nix will be the story. Troy Franklin, their other rookie that they selected from the Ducks that will play receiver, he selected number 16, and he chose that number because there were 16 wide receivers who were selected ahead of him in the draft.
He's keeping receipts.
But I would say for the media who are going to be covering it, I mean, this is the first look at Bo Nix in a Bronco jersey. Obviously, you'll get a chance to see that connection between Nix and Troy Franklin, but this is the very beginning. We talk about the process and what is going to have to happen over the next several months leading up to the season. It starts with rookie minicamp. How does he handle it?
Yeah.
How do things look? How is he absorbing the offense that Sean Payton has laid out? And then from there, the work after the minicamp in the OTAs leading into training camp. And then we'll see how that process plays out between the competition that will be in place between Stidham, Wilson, and Bo Nix.
Now, my guess would be they'll push him really hard mentally right now. They want to push all that playbook stuff into him as soon as possible just to see how he assimilates it and gets, to be able to handle it all.
That's how I would do it. I would try to overload him. I mean, just work him hard and get him as comfortable with the situation as possible. And then coming out of the rookie camp, he can have the playbook and continue to digest and just work. Bo Nix is going to have to put in a lot of time between now and the start of training camp, but this is part of the process, and I can't wait to see how things continue to play out.
What happens in this camp, Chad? I mean, how much do they do? Is it just kind of looking at the guys and appraising people? I mean, they know Bo pretty well, but they're drafting guys that they probably want to get into their camp and find out what they have, right?
Yeah, you're trying to see what they've got. Some of the guys you have an idea of, some guys you don't, and you're trying to get them introduced to the playbook.
Right.
And see where they're at on the playbook. Obviously, these guys have had the playbook for a while now, and they've started going through the process of study and digesting, and then you get them out there on the field and begin the process.
Yeah, a chance, too, I bet, for their position coaches to actually get in a room with them and find out what they have.
Yes.
Because those guys sometimes probably haven't been included.
That's true. The other thing that's interesting is sometimes you discover in your rookie mini camp right away that maybe one of your undrafted free agents who's come in, or maybe it's a later round pick, you start to see something right away like, oh, this guy is a find.
Yeah.
In fact, I was listening to a conversation with Joel Klatt, and he was in that camp early on with the Saints with Sean Payton, and Marcus Colston, who was, I think, like a late round pick, like 6th or 7th round. He ended up being a big-time receiver for Drew Brees. Klatt said that Peyton was standing right next to him. He goes, hey, throw this pass. He was throwing passes to Colston. Throw it here. Throw it inside. Throw it high. He was at him throw all these different passes to Colston, and Klatt thought, oh, man, he's wanting to check out how good my accuracy is.
Right.
Well, come to find out, he was just trying to get a good look at Colston and all the different things he could do because they realized early on that they had found someone special.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes. You draft a guy thinking something, and they turn out to be even better than what you thought. Or some of these guys just pick up the NFL game quickly, or maybe it's one of those, diamonds in the rough that played at a small school, and then you get them on the NFL field and you realize right away, like, oh, this guy's going to be good.
Yeah, and every team every year seems like they catch gold with an undrafted free agent guy who somehow sticks. And it usually takes that guy a year or two to play his way onto the active roster and off the practice squad. But very often they find a regular player undrafted.
Yeah, I think the Broncos, I forgot the streak. They've got a streak of like, I don't know, it's 5, 6, 7 years in a row where they've had an undrafted rookie make the squad.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty good. That comes back to the scouting department.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've talked about that, about guys who are out there who do the dirty work, and maybe they lock in and find a player and say, hey, they make a case for it. Like, I really think we should take a chance on this guy and see what he can do. So we'll see how things shake out. But that's what's going on this weekend. Bo Nix gets his first work and look in a Broncos uniform wearing number 10.
Duck fans are going to love that. Number 10.
Yeah. Now, my question is, who do you think Duck fans will follow more? The Chargers with Justin Herbert or Bo Nix with the Broncos?
That they're going to follow both as much as they can, but I would still think Herbert, because of the coaching change there. You want to see how he's used. You want to see how he does with the new coaching staff. Is he getting more of a chance to stay upright at least? All those questions that you have for him. But then you don't want to miss out on Bo either, because, how's he going to do as a rook? Is he going to get to play? Is he starting? And then if he's playing, how's he doing?
That would be a total bummer if Bo ends up not starting and the Broncos have to start off the year with Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson.
That would be a bad sign, I think, for his future if he can't win the starting job this year.
I would think so, only because of the bums who are in there. Again, no disrespect to Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson, but those guys are bums. If it was more of a Alex Smith type or some type of entrenched starter with experience, if Bo didn't start right away, that's fine.
Yeah.
But he's going into camp against these two tools. Like, you would hope that he would be able to elevate himself above that, even without the experience. That's what I would think, because he's more accurate, smarter.
And you put that together with all the good things that Peyton said about him, makes you believe Peyton wants to throw him into the fire as soon as possible.
Yeah, do it. See what he's got, especially early on in camp. Yeah. Test him, throw as many things at him as possible, and then we go from there. But that's it. That's what's going on this weekend. Mini camp. After that, it will be the OTAs, and then from there, NFL teams will get ready for the start of training camp, and that's coming up later in July. Oh, by the way, I was just looking at some numbers, Godfather. We were talking about Shohei Ohtani and whether or not, the distractions of his former interpreter and the gambling and the theft and all that might be a distraction for him. Right now, Shohei Ohtani leads the league in batting average at .355. He also is second in home runs and leads the majors in hits. He is on fire.
So what else is he doing?
Everything. He's a freak of nature. Do you think the Dodgers might be smart if they just said, hey, bro, why don't you just hit all the time?
No. He's too good a pitcher. Even if I would cut back a little bit on the pitching load, though, in the coming years. I would say, we're going to use you once a week. And if we can rest you a few more days, we're going to do it, because we want you starting game one of every postseason series we play.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't throw him 3 times in a 7-game series. I'd start him first game and last game if it got to that.
All right. Well, so basically, he had the Tommy John. So if he were to suffer another injury with his pitching arm,
that's different.
It wouldn't matter. I mean, he's always going to be able to hit, right?
Yeah, because he's hitting this year, and he had the surgery and all. He'd be fine to hit. Yeah.
It's amazing to me you can have that and go out and hit and be just fine.
Yeah, and he's DHing. He's not playing in the field. Although, if he weren't going to pitch anymore, I think there'd be a tendency to find a spot for him in the outfield, play him in left field or something.
Who do you watch more now, the Orioles or the Braves?
Both the same, just about. Whoever's playing at a given time, their games tend to start at the same time usually. And in that case, I flip back and forth. Or I watch one on the laptop and the other on the TV.
Have the Orioles taken over the number 1 spot over the Braves for your baseball viewing because of Adley Rutschman?
So far this year they have, because the Orioles are more fun to watch. The Orioles have all those young players that are really good. Adley's off to a terrific start, hitting around .320 with 4 or 5 home runs. He's hitting at the top of the order. I mean, he's off to a great – if he can catch – he's DHing more this year, but if he can be a catcher and hit 300, you're on your way to the Hall of Fame if you can do that very long. That's a tough position to play and still hit 300. And he's a leader in the clubhouse for them. This team's got a great future, too, with all those outstanding young players.
So he's a big-time baller.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. They got Gunnar Henderson hitting leadoff in front of him. He's terrific draft pick, a shortstop. He's really good. They got Holiday back down in the minors, but he's going to be outstanding. They're really loaded.
What do you think is the right number of games for someone to play catcher throughout the course of the year?
Well, if you could hold him to 100 games, that'd be nice. He's kind of DHing almost every other game now. And that's smart because last year he caught way too much. And I think they tired him out as the season went along. But there's no point in doing that. They have a good backup catcher, a kid named McCann, who they got from the Tigers. And he's a good defensive catcher. That's all they need. He hits ninth. But if he can play defense and give Adley that rest from being behind the plate, that's a great deal.
All right, Rip City driver Dwight Chad. How nice was it looking out at the golf course at Willamette Valley this morning?
Yeah. To see guys out there playing early in their shirt sleeves, you know, really nice. Shorts, people are, and tomorrow's going to be even better. They're saying maybe a record tomorrow, up into the high 80s.
That is music to my ears right there.
I assume you're playing.
No, not tomorrow. I got to go in early and help my buddy Luke train his clients.
That's right.
Because he's in Florida right now.
Yeah.
When I agreed to do it, I knew that it was going to take me off. I just didn't know it was going to be sunny and 85 degrees or whatever the temperature is going to be. Yeah. Had I known what the weather was going to be, I'd tell him to put an egg in his shoe and beat it.
Well, I tell you to take tomorrow off from the show, but no, I'd rather have you here.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I do. I love you, Chad. You're my guy.
Boy.
Hey, was that sincere enough for you?
No, that sounds like...
I didn't think so.
It came across like when my daughter wants something, she'll hug
love you, Dad.
She gets close and hugs my neck and gives me a kiss and says, I love you, Daddy. And I'm like, here it comes.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Here's the punchline. That's a good Chicago song right here. This is the Jason Chef era with Chicago. Is this part of the Bo Nix segment right here, Shacker?
Future segment.
Okay. I like Chicago. You like Chicago?
Oh, yeah, always have. He's got to find out what Brian Cage walk-up music is to the ring, though.
It's probably not
next
this song.
Tuesday. No. It's heavy metal, I'm sure. But you better be able to play that when he comes in, or he might beat you up.
What I'm going to do...
I'll load it into the system.
I'm going to stand up on top of the desk here in the studio, and I'm going to top rope him when he comes in. What do I care, man?
I'm going to greet him with, you don't look so tough.
I want my shot. He'll come in and I'll jump on him.
Yeah.
That guy could destroy me. I agree.
He could throw both. He could kill us both at the same time. Yeah.
I agree. That would be fun, though. I wouldn't mind being a heel. I know you've always talked about how you wouldn't get in the ring to be a heel. I want to do that.
Yeah.
I would let Cage crack a chair over my dome or a 2x4 or whatever. He could hacksaw Jim Duggan me. That'd be fun, man. I can't believe that you chickened out and you didn't want to be a heel in the ring.
I didn't want to be a referee. Don Owen always wanted to put me in. Well, I'll let you referee between Buddy Rose and Roddy Piper. I said, yeah, I'd be in the ring 30 seconds. They've already made a fool out of me.
The two biggest mistakes you've ever made in your life. One, selling your house down in Arizona. That was dumb.
Yeah.
And then refusing to be a ref in the ring in wrestling. That'd be awesome. Because we would probably have pictures or some type of video evidence of that.
They would have pantsed me. There would have been something like that going on because I know I've seen these tricks before.
All right, we'll come back. We'll hand out some high fives. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, high five time. By the way, do you like public hot tubs? You've got one at your club. I'm just saying,
We
are
do.
you comfortable getting in a hot tub with other humans that you don't know?
I'd rather be in that hot tub by myself. I use that hot tub.
Yeah.
Try to get down there early enough in the morning that we're either me and Nancy or just me by ourselves. Yeah, I'm not wild about being in a hot tub with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain things where I'm like, why do people do that? That's one of those things right there.
And there's some concern about hot tubs in general. You know, they better be sanitary. They better, I mean,
That's my main concern.
Yeah, there's bacteria there somewhere.
Yeah, it's just weird when you get in there with someone that's like overly hairy or kind of a moo-moo. It just creeps me out. I could never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like to swim in lakes, oceans, or hot tubs with strangers.
Well, when we were in Lake Oswego, we had a hot tub in the backyard. That's the best. It was in, it was covered.
Uh-huh.
And so it was really nice to go out there, even in the winter, you know, to go out there and sit in that extremely hot water. Great way to get going in the morning.
What we used to do in Colorado is, because we had a hot tub, when it would snow, sit in the hot tub, jump out, roll around in the cold snow, and then jump right back in.
Oh, man. That's
for the cold hot treatment right there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very, very good. Who would you like to give a high five to?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, Chad. I think
Rick Carlisle for sounding so confident after the Game 2 loss.
No, I'm going to give it to Mike Johnston and his Portland Winterhawks. Nice of Mike to come in on their draft day.
Thanks, Mike.
And spend some time with us and wish them luck for the series.
I got no problems with that. He was cool. You can tell he's pretty excited. I'm just thankful they don't have to make that 17-hour drive up to Moose Jaw.
He chuckled a little bit when you asked him if they're going to take the bus up.
Yeah. So they fly the plane together, both teams.
Both teams get on that plane.
That could get a little dicey.
Yeah. I mean, you just fought this guy sitting 2 rows in front of you.
Hey, I was in the penalty box because of you. You bleep, bleep, and next thing you know, they start throwing down. That's interesting. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to give mine out to Frank Vogel. If your agent can get you 5 years and 31,
oh man,
and you only have to work 1 year of that contract, that's good living right there. Good living right there.
You're not kidding.
If he's smart, he'll take the money and run. I would make the Suns pay out every single dime of that contract.
No settlement there. No, you pay
I'm
me
not
every
taking
penny.
a job.
Yeah.
I'm going to go chill in the sunshine. I hope Frank's a golfer. Hey, Frank, if not, pick up the game of golf. You got access to all the great golf courses down there in the Phoenix area.
Yeah. You're living in Phoenix anyway. You don't even have to move to retire. You're in the best retirement area anyway.
And you know he doesn't live in Phoenix. He probably lives in Scottsdale.
Well, no, yeah, Scottsdale. Yeah.
That's where I want to be. That's the place. There are beautiful people down there. There are beautiful homes and plenty of golf courses. And the weather year-round is sunny at all times.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of really nice country clubs with a lot of very rich and famous people in them.
Oh, my gosh. Do you regret, like, a serious question about the house that you sold down there. Like, do you have moments of regret where you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah, mostly when you're giving me a bad time about it. But, yeah, I try not to remember that because I'm usually a guy, I make a decision, I never look back. That one I do look back on because I should have just rented it out for an entire year. If they damaged it, they damaged it. But I would make so much money on the override on the payments to the house from their rent that it would have paid for, I moved down there and the payments would be easy.
All right. I'll wait a few more weeks before I ask you about that mistake again. But I heard something interesting. We were talking about, governments. So my aunt and uncle own a condo over in Maui.
Oh, man.
And they have one of those agencies that rents it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently there's a local law that got voted in now to where you have to, they're worried about the people that have been displaced by the fires and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're no longer going to allow you to rent out your condo. You have to take in, the city would take it over and pay you $3,000 a month to rent it out so that they can have a place to put these people that are displaced. How does that sound? But the problem is, what I was hearing from my aunt is that for their place, it costs $5,000 a month to be able to maintain. So you'd be
Yeah.
taking less in.
That's what I was going to say. If you're renting it out by the week, you're going to make a lot more than that a month.
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And obviously, the majority of people that own those condos over there, they're not locals. They live in the
Sure.
States
Yeah.
or here on the mainland. And then they use the renters to be able to pay the mortgage on it, you know? It's an investment. And then they can go over there and use it a few times a week, a year, whenever they want to go over and visit Maui.
Yeah. So can you get me in that condo once in a while?
I could actually.
Could you?
Yeah.
What are they? Do you know what they could? What is it a week? Maybe.
Well, I don't. The family price is.
That's what we're looking for, the friends and family deal.
Well, then $0. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd take it for
Yeah.
$0.
Uncle Gordon's always hit me up. He goes, "Here are the dates. Are you interested in any of these?"
My Chad.
That's a good thing to have. Uncle Gordy is.
Whereabouts on Maui is it? Wailea?
I don't know exactly. That gets confusing to me.
All those towns over there sound the same.
Yeah. Does it matter? If you're in Maui, does it really matter?
Well, it does. You don't want to be in Lahaina because that's where the fires hit the hardest.
I know it's not in Lahaina. All right. Big thanks to Mike Johnston, Ben Golliver, Michael Shacker. Godfather, enjoy your evening.